Guard war jetzt so lang wie vorhin, als wir 90 auf Tool hatten. Die Guard war jetzt von Hock, so wie wir vorhin auch die Guard hatten. Ich will jetzt mal 85. 80, 85.
So, good evening. Welcome back to Baden Masters 2020 edition. We just started the quarter-final here, so the two teams that we are watching is the Muskatewitz team from Germany, who've had a great weekend, and the Retornaz rink, very experienced team from Italy. So while they're just setting up that first end, we can talk a little bit about how we got here. So there are two groups, an A group and a B group here at Baden Masters. The round robin was completed just this afternoon. So the top team from both of those groups, they go directly to tomorrow morning's semi-final. So in Group A, that was the team from Edin from Sweden, and in Group B, that was Team Van Dorp from Netherlands. So both of them have a nice easy night this evening. They don't have to play a game of curling just now, but I'm sure they'll be keeping an eye on their opponents. So they topped their respective groups, so they're straight through to the semi-final tomorrow morning. So what we have here is second place in Group A was Muskatewitz from Germany, and they are now playing third place from Group B, and that's Retornaz. So that's the game we're focusing on this evening. Next door we have second place from Group B, and that's the team from Switzerland of Andrin Schneider, and they are playing the third place team from Group A, and that's Peter de Cruz. So that was the game that we watched earlier on. We watched de Cruz versus Edin, so de Cruz will very much be hoping that they can get a rematch against Edin tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. So that's how we got here. Our two top qualifiers, they're directed to the semi-final tomorrow morning, and the winner of each of these two games will be the other two teams that qualify for tomorrow morning's semi-final. So both groups very tight actually in the end. So Group A, as we said, was won by Edin, and runner-up was the Muskatewitz team that we're watching just now. Third place there was Peter de Cruz, so the fact that the de Cruz rink was in third place already gives us a indication of how strong that competition was. So just to round that off, in the fourth place was Team Klossner, also from Switzerland, young team. So they finished on the same points as the de Cruz team, and Peter de Cruz qualified by dint of their head-to-head record. So when they played each other in the round robin, de Cruz came out the winner. So that's what got them through, but both those teams, de Cruz and Klossner, finishing on 3 wins. Then fifth place in Group A was Team Iseli, also from Switzerland. In sixth place was Team Krause from Denmark, and in seventh place was Team Gempeler, also from Switzerland. So all three of those teams, Iseli, Krause and Gempeler, all on 2 wins each. So really tight affair in that group for qualification. Then jumping over to the B group, as we said already, the Van Dorp rink are top of the whole pile at the moment. They're the only team that have gone unbeaten through the round robin. So Van Dorp's team direct qualify for the semi-final tomorrow morning. And then in second place was Team Schneider, that is currently playing de Cruz's rink next door. Third place was Retornaz's team from Italy that we're watching here. Fourth place, and also on 6 points, so also on 3 wins, was Yannick Schwaller's team, the defending champions. So again, that just shows you the quality of this field, that all three teams under the Van Dorp team, so Team Schneider, Team Retornaz and Team Schwaller, all of them finished on 3 wins. Their head-to-head was 1 win each, so we had to go to the draw shot challenge, and that was what qualified Schneider and Retornaz. So Schneider had a average draw shot challenge of 14.5 centimetres. Retornaz's team draw shot challenge of 22 centimetres, and Schwaller's team a draw shot challenge of 77 centimetres rounded up. So 77 centimetres, not to be sneezed at actually, but at this level that wasn't quite good enough. So our defending champions don't qualify for the quarterfinal. So whatever happens today and tomorrow, we shall have new champions. So just to round off that group, so in first place we had Van Dorp, second place playing just now is Schneider, third place also out in quarterfinals just now is Retornaz, fourth place was Schwaller, fifth place was Team Hess from Switzerland, and sixth place Team Iseli, also from Switzerland. So really strong competition so far. You can see some big names either found it tough or maybe ended up not qualifying, so a lot of strength and depth in this competition. So it looks like quite a conservative first end in our featured game here. This is the quarter-final from the Baden 2020 Masters. So neither team wanting to get lots of stones in play at the moment by the look of it. They want to get a feel for the ice. So it looks like both teams quite happy to keep things a bit clear. Get some nice takeout practice meanwhile. So our first fan in the chat is an Italian fan. It says, "Go Joel, Forza Italia." So we have Italian team, the German team that we're watching, and then two Swiss teams next door. So plenty of representation. You can see Joel having a bit of a yawn there. I'm not surprised. It's been a very long weekend for everyone. Some teams had 4 games yesterday, 4 A10 games. And for some of them, this could be their third game today. So pretty tough schedule, but these guys are all very fit, so they'll manage. But yeah, it's pretty tiring on them. So exchanging takeouts on the wing here. Fairly conservative start. Just that little rollout gives Joel and Simone the chance to call a bit of a draw around the guard by the look of it. So the Muskatewitz team, they're playing red. They have last stone. You can see that little hammer symbol next to their name on the scoreboard. That means that their overall draw shot challenge, I think, was better than Team Retornaz. Or they may have done a single draw shot challenge for this game, but either way, the Muskatewitz draw shot challenge was superior to Team Retornaz, so closer to the centre. So that's why they get the hammer, they get last shot in this first end. So it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get a big score in this first end, but nevertheless, Italy would like to put some pressure on, so if they can sneak a stone around that yellow guard there, that will put a bit of pressure on the German team to come up with an answer. Line looks lovely. Weight looks pretty nice too. Yeah. Great first effort there from Italian skip Joel Retornaz. So we can quickly run through the team lineups while they're exchanging shots here in the first end. So we're watching Muskatewitz versus Retornaz. So we can get a picture of each of the teams there. So the German team Muskatewitz on the left side there. So their fourth player is Sixten Totzek. Their third player and skip is Mark Muskatewitz. Second thrower is Joshua Suter. And lead thrower is Dominic Greindl. Then the Retornaz rink. very familiar faces there. So their fourth thrower and skip is Joe Retornaz. Third player is Amos Mozana. Second thrower is Sebastiano Arman, and lead is Simone Gonin, and he is also the vice skip. So really experienced team, this Retornaz rink. They've been around for a long time. They've experimented a little bit with their lineup over the years, so who skips, who's vice skip, who throws third, who throws fourth, but they seem to have settled on this iteration, and that seems to be working for them. They're having a lot of success with this lineup. So that was a nice reply there from the German team. We see the yellow shot that Italy played in their previous effort. That was a good try, but then the Germans outdrew them. So now Italy are going to have to do something similar again. Do they just want 1 meter more to bump up to that red and try to cancel that out? They don't want Germany getting a 2 in this first end. So there's a nice angle there. So definitely space to sneak up to that red. You can see a little edge of it. So if Joe just plays pretty similar stone, just, yeah, a meter, half a meter or so extra weight. And of course Germany will be hoping that they've hidden that red stone well enough that Italy is not able to do that, so then they would give themselves a chance to score 2. So I think his weight looks good. They're just giving it a chance to curl a wee bit. Great effort, Joel. Really nice. So I don't think there's a double take out there. Nope. So I don't think it's possible for Germany to bring that red back into play. So really great last stone there from Joel. So not only can Germany not score 2 here, they are forced to score 1, so they have to put 1 in the middle, just where Todzek is indicating. I know that Todzek is about to throw, sorry. It's Muskatewitz is the skip in this team, so he's having another little look at it, just to wonder if there is a shot to make 2, but I don't think there is. I think they just have to accept that they're making 1 in this first end, so Italy will be satisfied with that start. Some really nice shots, put some pressure on the Germany team and forcing them to take 1 point and concede the last stone back to Italy. So the Muskatewitz rink, they've had a really successful weekend, so I'm sure they're pretty confident with all their shots, so they'll be fairly confident about making this shot, I would think. Yeah, I think they're looks pretty good with this one. And again, he hardly even needs the backing. He just puts it right in the middle, all by itself. So great shot there from Sixten Todzek, the 4th player for Germany. And it's straight up on the board, so the 1 red for Germany, and now last stone goes to Italy. So the traditional team confab at the change of ends there. They'll just be discussing, okay, what do we want to do? We want to play aggressive. Do we want to keep things clean? We can see with both of these teams, both of them have a slightly non-traditional lineup, so as we've seen is becoming much more common these days actually. Traditionally it used to be that the skip was the 4th thrower as well, and the vice skip would typically throw 3rd stones. So still oftentimes at the club it's often that way, but there's no rule that says you have to do it that way, and sometimes the player who's best suited to throwing 4th stones, they're not necessarily the player who's experienced at skip either. So you see a lot of times now the teams delegate those responsibilities around the team. It's not all this pressure on the fourth player. So this Italian team, Joel does throw fourth, and he is the skip. I said before they'd experimented a little bit with who was vice skip and who was throwing third and fourth, but I think they've settled on this version of the team. But it's Simone who's just thrown now, the Italian lead. He's the vice skip. So he's the one that is judging the line of the stone and calling the game when it's Joel throwing. And then in the German team, it looks like 610 Totzek is actually skipping, unless they've rearranged their lineup. But it looked like, at least their previous lineup, it looked like Mark Muskatewitz, who throws third stones, was skipping. But now we get a chance to see Dominik Grandl in the German lead, playing aggressive stones to start this end. So he put up a really nice guard first of all, and he's drawn a really nice shot in behind that. Look at that, right on the tee line. You're not going to see much of that. It nearly came out the other side, but it would be quite difficult to remove that stone. Well, that's to say it would be difficult to remove that stone and get behind cover, but this is the kind of shot Simone will be very used to. So again, just that controlled weight. He wants to move this red, but they want to control this stone. He's not throwing a big wild weight at that. Oh, and even the two big Italian boys there couldn't quite sweep that past the guard. So Germany will be pleased that they got a mistake there out of Italy. That was exactly what they were hoping for. So that guard did just enough. And now they're going to try and capitalise on that. So they're going to throw another stone behind that guard that's still there. And now get a nice look at the throw of German second player Joshua Sutter. So that's not going to get to tee. They needed to wait a little bit longer because that stone was hanging out a little bit on that clockwise handle, but that's a nice enough result. They can use that stone in the front ring. A front ring shot is rarely bad news. So remember, Italy has last shot in this end, but they're getting a wee bit concerned with all these German shots all over the middle. So I think they're saying to themselves, yeah, we want to try and clear a few German shots and then think about building an end. They don't want to get themselves in a mess and not even be able to score one. So a nice look now at Italian second thrower Sebastiano, sorry. Again, that nice controlled weight because they want this yellow to hang around. So they got a roll towards the centre. A roll either way was fine for them really, but yeah, they got a roll towards the centre. So nice shot there from Sebastian Arman. Removed the German counter right in the middle and replaced it with an Italian counter. So that stops the danger for now. Another look at Joshua Sutter's throw, the German second player. You can see typically the players that will they'll watch the stone the whole way up. They won't take their eyes off it until they see the result. So that's nice enough. That's first things first, we wanted to remove that Italian counter, so they did. So he doesn't get his own shot to hang around, but it's Italy that has last stone this end, so Germany can afford to roll out, whereas it's Italy that wants their stones hanging around. So now Italy has the choice. Do they want to do something with that danger stone in the front ring? And it looks like yes, they do. So that's a stone that Germany could tap up. They could split. That's a danger stone for Italy. So they want to get rid of that front ring stone there. We're getting some really nice shots of these. Really nice deliveries from both of our teams. Nice and steady. So again, we can see the throw of Sebastiano Arman. Really nicely. He made it round that guard by nothing at all. And then his sweepers get the nice roll behind that corner guard. Great shot there from Sebastian Arman. Removes that final German counter. And now that's the danger shot for Germany. So Germany could do the same again. They could draw a shot behind that red guard right in the centre. But that's not the danger area for them at the moment. The danger is that yellow guard out front. So that's why they want to remove that. That's the shot that's currently hurting them, is that nice yellow guard. So first look at this end for German third thrower, Mark Muskatewitz. So Michaela's back in the chat. Hello again, Michaela. And indeed, Mark is throwing third shots, and it looks like he's vice skip. So it looks like Sixten Totzek is skipping in this game at least. I must admit, I haven't had the chance to watch too many of this team's games for the weekend, so I'm not sure if that's a new rotation for them, or indeed if they're trying out different rotations of the team in this competition. Oh, Wolfgang from Oberstdorf is with us, and he says this is now their normal lineup, so whatever experiments they may have done, they've settled here. So yeah, Sixten Totzek is the skip and fourth thrower for Germany. It's nice to see Wolfgang from Oberstdorf joining. I'm sure he'll be cheering for the German team today. So here is famous Mark Muskatewitz, who's not the German skip today, but he is the third thrower. And they're still got some problems with these Italian shots hanging around on the wings. So Italy's still lying shot. That yellow on the left. That's still lying shot. So Joe's not very worried about that red that's just hanging on. Amos should be easily capable to outcount that red, and then Italy would be lying two again. So Italy playing a really nice end at the moment, making the most of having that last shot and trying to build shots. So it sounds like they're calling it to just over T. But as long as it beats that red, then that's a decent result. There is a double take out there, yeah, which looks like Sixten is pointing to. But goodness me, that's as much of an across the house double as it's possible to get. So these are never easy. I'd love to see him get it. Or maybe it looks like he's just trying for the hit and roll rather than the big across the house double. So our Italian fan Clock says it's so good to be finally watching top class curling again. I think we definitely agree with you. I know that in some countries, particularly in Canada and US, there are still a lot of restrictions on all activities, including curling club. So just a handful of clubs are open or will be opening in Canada and the US. So you're very welcome here in virtual Baden Club if you're missing out your curling activities and want to join your curling buddies, then we're glad to have you. So again, we see that nice controlled weight, because that's exactly what they wanted. He wanted to roll right behind that guard, and I think he's pulled it off pretty nicely. So he needed that controlled weight so that they could really control the line with the sweeping and make sure they got that roll. I think that's one of the biggest differences at this level in the club. We would talk about a hit and roll, but we would unlikely to make it as consistently accurate as these guys. So they need it to be that accurate, because if he didn't get that roll behind cover, behind that centre guard that Joel's just making sure everything's clean next to, then they would make it far too easy for this strong Italian team to then remove that shot. So it's at least half hidden, I would say. I think Italy can see a little bit behind the guard. So again, we'll see a nice delicate weight, controlled weight. Very makeable shot, but he can't throw a big weight at it or it won't curl enough. So there's a nice angle. There's plenty of space to get to that red, but he does need it to curl, so that's what Simona going in. The vice skip for Italy, he'll be watching out for that. So first stone for Retornaz, the skip and fourth thrower on the Italian team. I think some of our graphics are getting a little bit tired as well after a busy couple of days, but we'll try to keep it right. So nice shot there from Joel. It couldn't be too heavy or it wouldn't curl enough. But if it didn't have enough weight, it might have curled onto the guard or not have had enough to push the German stone out of play. So good effort, Joel. I think the angles were a little bit against him to get a much better result than that. So Germany reckons they can certainly remove that open Italian stone, and again, if they get this angle right, they could maybe just punch that yellow shot in the 12-foot circle out as well. So it's, again, definitely a makeable shot here. So if he makes it perfectly, Germany could end up lying 2. So last shot for German fourth and skip, 16 Totzek.
Dummy roll, dummy roll. Yep, good.
That's exactly what he wanted to do. Great shot. So from working very hard and making a lot of nice stones to build this end, Italy now find themselves in the same situation as Germany had last end. So let's look at that lovely double takeout again. So that was coming in hot. That needed a lot of beans behind it. So there is a double takeout there if you needed it to save the game, but I think this is the right decision. It's a tricky double takeout for Italy, so I think they've made the right choice just to make a nice easy draw. For a team at this level, a draw to the house is very makeable, so Joel just has to find a place in the 8-foot circle, the white circle. So Joel's going to watch that stone the whole way up. Here it comes, as you see, it just needs to land in the white, the 8-foot circle, and that will outcount the German shot. Yeah, it's not really worth sweeping. That's going to stop well in time, so nice shot there from Joel. Again, if you just have to find the 8-foot circle when you're doing practice on your own, you can do it all day, but when you're in a quarter-final of a big championship and you've got 2 German shots counting against, that's not an easy shot. That's why your fourth player is the one who really has to hold their nerve. It's not necessarily the strongest player or the best player, so to say. It's the person who can really hold their nerve and make those apparently easy shots, but under some pressure. So good pressure shot there from Joel. That will give him good confidence. So one's exchanged, 2 very similar ends actually. And now we're back to all level. So there, we'll take a quick look at the rules of play. So we just rounded it, had the last round of the round robin this afternoon with the 2 groups. We had quite a few extra ends actually in the games, which again shows the quality of the teams here, the quality of the competition. We're now in the quarter-final, so second place from Group A, which is Muskatewitz, is playing third place from Group B. Sorry, the other way around. Hang on, I've got my groups muddled up here, but second place from Group A plays third place from Group B, and second place from Group B plays third place from Group A for the quarter-final. The teams that won the group, so that's Niklas Edin and Jaap van Dorp, those two teams are having an evening off, and they are already qualified for the semi-final tomorrow. And the two winning teams from these games, they will qualify for the semi-final tomorrow morning as well.
Ja. Durch. Specklein. 12-5.
So as Michaela mentioned at the start of this game, yeah, stamina definitely becomes a factor. So all of these guys, they'll all be pretty fit. That's something they probably could have kept going over this summer, just doing kind of self-fitness in your garden when all the gyms were closed and it wasn't really possible to do curling-specific training. But all of these guys, they'll be pretty fit, so they can handle this, but that doesn't mean it's easy. So stamina definitely becomes a factor.
Possiamo aspettare, linea. Dobbiamo aspettare.
Aspetta, Rama, aspetta.
You can say hi to Gretchen, who's joined the chat. Thanks for joining us, Gretchen. Hope you enjoy it.
Vai giù, Rama. Tutto che hai, ancora un po', Rama, ancora un po'.
So, another two nice shots from Simone Gonin from Italy. You can see about half of that, the German team, so they're going to just try to remove that Italian counter. Germany has last shot again in this third end. It's kind of back to as we were at the beginning of the game. So both lead players, in fact all lead players in this competition have been really setting up the ends really nicely. So that nice controlled weight again, no trouble there. So while these teams exchange controlled hits until someone gets a nice roll, then we can check in on the game next door. So that's all Swiss affair. That's Team Schneider and Team de Cruz. So Team Schneider have had a very good weekend. They managed to knock out the defending champions Yannick Schwaller. Not by much, just by about 20 centimetres on the draw shot challenge was the difference between those teams. But yeah, Team Schneider should feel very proud of themselves to qualify for this quarter-final. And they're up against Team Peter de Cruz, who have not had it all their own way this weekend. They've had a few tough losses this weekend. So they're in their third end as well. And Team Schneider started with the hammer in the first end. They scored 1, and then the Cruz team replied with a 2 in the second end. So it's 2-1 to Team de Cruz in the third end, with Schneider having hammer in this third end. And good news for those of us that were watching this afternoon, Peter de Cruz's team were playing with 3 players. Valentin Tanner was sitting out that game. He had an awkward fall on the ice yesterday and was carrying a bit of an injury. So he sat that game out, and they certainly missed him, although Peter de Cruz was doing a great job filling in for Valentin at lead with the first 2 shots. But it's tough work playing with 3 players, especially at this level, so they'll be delighted if Valentin's fit again to play. So we hope that wasn't a serious injury that he picked up yesterday after a fall. And they'll be very happy to have him back, not only for his shot making, but also for his sweeping. I think they certainly missed him in the game against Edin that we watched this afternoon. So just as we thought, both the teams here are exchanging controlled hits. Not quite finding the roll yet.
Nochmal Board. Kannst auch mit Heck kommen. An Heck.
60.
So the Muskatewitz line-up causing all sorts of discussion, and it seems like indeed this is a new rotation for this year. So last year it was Mark Muskatewitz that was skipping the team, and Sixten Totzek was playing third stones. So maybe they entered the competition already last season. So yeah, looks like this is a new lineup for them, but it got them second place in the group, so that seems to be working for them.
Der hat viel gekölt. Der jetzt?
Still exchanging controlled hits here. Both teams still looking for that roll behind cover on the centre line to try to force a mistake out from the opposition. So Amos does get the roll, but it squeaks out the other side.
Kann auch so probieren. Das Pfeil auf der Seite ganz gut, ja, mit Heck.
But to get to the inside of that yellow, to get a roll behind the centre guard, that would be quite difficult now. So yeah, you can see it from this view, to get to the inside of that yellow, which you would need to roll left to get behind the guard. He's certainly made that a bit trickier for Germany. But they'll be sticking to that controlled weight takeout. Make sure that their shooter hangs around. That's important because if either of the teams, if their shooter also runs out, then the other team has a nice centre guard and a free draw right behind it. So both teams are very interested in keeping their shooter in play. So no trouble with this red getting around the guard. Can they get a little bit of a roll? Maybe a couple of centimetres. It's Germany that has last shot in this end, the red stones.
Fast schon sicher vorbei. 6 von wissen wir es jetzt, das war doch gut.
11 e mezzo!
So second throw here from third player Amos Mazzana for Italy. I see Simone is working very hard to try to get it to curl, I think. But that's not a terrible result to take play away from the centre. To roll behind that centre guard now is going to take a very precise shot. Or they can call their bluff and just go straight behind indeed. So Germany has last shot, and they will be hoping to try to generate 2 points here. So they've got a couple of choices. They could draw to the wing and sit one right in front of that yellow. That would be locked on, and then that would be really safe. But what they're doing is using that centre guard. Now that Italy rolled away, so they're just trying to draw directly behind that guard. No worry about trying to get a hit and roll. They won't be too concerned about that Italian counter out wide because Germany has last shot, so Italy is unlikely to guard that outside shot. So this is a sensible call. But I don't think it's a very sensible weight. So that was not really the tolerance for that shot. Now you've just given Italy, who don't have last shot, you've given them an additional centre guard. So that's a bit of a mistake there from Mark Muskatewitz.
Sì, il fatto è che, ok, ma ti dico, qua non è male, il fatto è che può tirarci con la sua rossa forse. E se è anche un po' largo gioca da doppia, non dobbiamo guardare. Quindi qua magari ci provato la nostra giocare run, possiamo avere un'altra guardia con cui nasconderla. Perché non giocherà mai su quella rossa.
We can take a quick look at how team, let's just say the German team, how they got here. So they had a terrific start. They had a win over Peter de Cruz in the first round, 6-4. They then lost to Edin 6-2, so quite a baptism of fire for the German team in this competition, playing two of the top teams in the world, one after the other. They then won against the Klossner, young Klossner rink from Switzerland. They won against Iseli from Switzerland, and they won against Gempeler from Switzerland. So they got the two big tough games out of the way in their first 2 rounds and then won the rest of their games. So they finished second in the group with 4 wins out of 5. And I can tell you how Team Retornaz got here as well. So they started out with a win over Team Schneider, who's playing next door. They then had a narrow loss to Team Schwaller, last year's champions. They had a win against Team Hess, the Swiss team. They lost to Van Dorp, who's the winning team from that group. They're undefeated so far, and then Retornaz team finished with a win over Team Iseli, also from Switzerland. So a bit up and down to get here. They finished 3rd in their group overall.
Okay.
So they didn't make the most of that chance that Germany gave them. They really wanted to sink a shot in behind those 2 centre guards there. So now they're giving Germany the chance to do that.
Vorne 4.
Jetzt ein Tick schneller, glaube ich. Weil wir geben jetzt, ich gebe jetzt mehr Eis als Smoky und da ist, glaube ich, ein bisschen die schnelle Spur.
So again, Germany could remove that Italian stone on the wing, but
Right.
there's no advantage to doing that. Germany has last stone here, so better that they try to build a couple of points here. I think it's going to be what we call a skips 2, if it's anything. That means the last 2 shots of the 4th player end up being those 2 points, but it's going to have to slow down a bit first. Which it does. So it's out counting that yellow, but it's quite a long way behind T. So the Italian team, they won't be too worried about that one. There's definitely enough space to either push that red through, or there's enough space to just do a direct draw and beat that red, which it looks like that's what they're going to do. So I think the idea for this shot, this will be Joel's last shot, as Germany has last stone here. So I think they're just trying to do a direct draw to the T-line. But if this shot's running a little bit heavy, then they do have that backing of the German shot that's just played. So fairly low risk shot this should be. There you can see it nicely there. If this has got a little bit too much beans, this shot, then it can nudge up against the German shot. So Simone calls the line immediately.
Linea buona! No, linea O!
Linea buona! Linea buona! Un po' di spazio! Linea buona!
I think the line looks pretty nice though.
Finisci giù allora, finisci giù forte! Finisci giù forte, andiamo, andiamo ragazzi, tira giù! Corra, corra, corra,
So
corra!
now they really want to keep that stone moving. Once it started to curl, then the sweeping will encourage it to curl. So big sweep there from the 2 Italian sweepers. Really nice shot there. Very nice, that's a great angle there. So they can't see hardly any of that shot just played by Italy. I do think you can get to the ice is curling a lot, so you could play maybe backline weight and chase that shot from Italy and just push it back a metre or 2. But I think that's quite a difficult way. I think this is the most likely way of getting it actually. Neither shot's very easy, but I think, yeah, driving that red back onto the yellow, I think that's probably the percentage shot. So when we talk about the percentage shot, we mean which of the shot choices has the higher likelihood of being successful, and I think this is the right choice. In a worst case, they're only losing 1 point. That's not a huge disaster. And in a best case, they may be able to make 2, so I think this is a good choice.
Tommy!
Oh, it didn't quite curl enough for them. Look at that. Not even a centimetre missed by. But
War der
good
schneller?
try from Sixten Totzek.
Okay.
That shot, the raised takeout, that's becoming ever more important in the game.
Achtung.
So it started becoming
Fleming haben wir so
a
noch
lot
gar
more
nicht
important when the free guard zone was first
Fleming hat
introduced.
auch mit Ziellänge gespielt.
And
Nein.
now with the 5
Die
rock free guard zone, we see it even more. So
No, quello che dicevi tu ho capito che se
we
faceva
take another like
se ne vedeva
half a
se ne vedeva
centimeter
il terzo.
between making and not making that shot. So great try from Sixten Totzek. Hopefully he'll not be too disappointed with that. He was very close, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more opportunities for raised takeouts later on in this game. But a handy steal for Italy. They'll be very happy with that. So they really seem to have found good weight, good line, this Italian team. If they just keep plugging away at that.
Ja gut, die Länge wissen wir ja, müssen sie nur noch spielen.
It's surprising how you can build up a lead of 1 or 2 points and start putting a lot of pressure back on your opposition. So
Jetzt mal sagen, sondern einfach mal wieder Quill spielen, oder?
Italian lead Simone Gonin.
Ja, ja, eben.
He'll be starting us off
Let's go.
Linie buona.
probably with the guard again. So Italy's +1, but they don't have last shot.
Rama un po' la pista.
14-6.
Die Spur läuft schon richtig gut.
Well, they are switching it
auf
up,
jeden
so
Fall
they
intern.
are going to take that shot into the house. So now Germany has to decide, do they hit and roll? Yes, they do. Or they could throw up a corner guard. So this is the more defensive call.
Dass man es grad bleibt.
The aggressive call would be to put up a corner guard and start trying to get stones into play. So Dominic Grandel, the
Nee, dort hat
German lead, being asked for hit and roll takeout. And again, you see that nice controlled weight. He wants this red to hang around. He's definitely going to.
Poi metto la guardia.
And they just try to sweep it as far from the point of contact as possible to switch up the line for Italy. So Italy are quite happy to play out a whole end like this. As long as Germany stick to their hitting game, they're not building up red counters around the house. So Italy are quite happy with this tactic. So they're quite satisfied to swap takeouts, to swap hit and rolls. It's really Germany that has to decide to switch up the tactics if they then want to start trying to build an end and get shots in play. So there's nothing wrong with doing this. Sometimes it can be nice just to settle the nerves a bit, or if a team had a bit of a tough end, it could be nice to just have a simple end like this, just exchanging takeouts to settle the nerves and get everyone's confidence picked up a little bit. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a takeout game, or a takeout end rather.
So nah ran wie es geht, keine lange.
Although having said that, it looks like Germany have, for some reason, now decided to switch up and throw an aggressive stone.
Nichts machen.
Mettiamo una guardia, sì, mi piace.
Sì, 3.
Sì, forse un po'.
That suits Italy as well. We saw them playing nice aggressive shots in the last couple of ends. So second thrower, Sebastiano Arman.
Cambia
Sounds
allora.
like a nice guard weight he's just thrown.
2+3.
This tactic's certainly working for the Italian team, so they won't mind continuing.
Tanto largo.
It's working for them to have shots in play
Giù, giù, giù. Ancora giù.
get to the middle first.
Forte, giù, forte, forte.
So lovely weight, not quite there for the line, but that's probably a handy shot anyway for Italy. It's found a nice spot there. Here we are, nice view from there. I'm sure they could use that guard at a later stage.
What?
So we're also in the fourth end in the game next door, the other quarter-final between Team Schneider and Team de Cruz. Also a very tight affair, so their third end was actually blanked. So it's still 2-1 to Team de Cruz.
Schöner.
And the hammer in this fourth end is with Team Schneider. So yeah, Team Schneider really battled their way
10.
to this quarter-final. It took them an extra end over Team Iseli this afternoon to book their place.
Sì, bisogna essere precisi.
So let's hope they've still got energy left to play another couple of games.
Non è male. Altezza 5-6, non di più.
And yeah, it sounds like they've had a fairly bright start to their season, Team Schneider. They were the winners of the Swiss Cup last weekend, so that's not to be confused with the Swiss Championship. That's not the same thing. The Swiss Cup is exactly that. It's just a cup competition, a one-off. But yeah, it sounds like Team Schneider have really hit the ground running at the start of this season after disrupted preparations in summer. So whatever they've been doing with their quarantine time seems to be working well for them.
Linea perfetta.
There's always a lot of
Hard adesso.
strength and depth in Swiss curling. A lot of strong teams, men's and ladies.
Bravo, spostare bene.
So there's always an up-and-coming Swiss team. You can never get comfortable if you're a top Swiss team. There are always plenty of younger teams biting at your heels.
Können vielleicht hier dran drawn.
And it's tough to stay at the top, I think.
Ja, das költ nicht.
Peter de Cruz's team, they've been at the top of world curling for quite a few years now, and deservedly so. They've given us a lot of great games over the past few years. But yeah, they've had a couple of losses this weekend. And I think that's because when you're at that top of the hill, you do end up having a bit of a target on your back, I think, and the other teams relish a chance to play against these top teams like de Cruz. So you do have a bit of a target on your back, and everybody wants to bring their best game to try to beat you. So it's tough to stay. It's tough to get to the top, but it's tough to stay at the top as well. And I think Peter de Cruz's team are finding that out as well. There's all these teams chasing them that would love to get to the top of that hill as well. So de Cruz is a champion. They won't be giving up easily, but there's always these younger teams ready to take that place at the top of the pile. So they really have to keep that high quality up all the time. And yeah, indeed, Team Schneider is building a nice end here in the fourth. You can have a look at that game, although we're not watching it in detail, but that game is also being streamed if you want to check in over there. So Peter de Cruz in a bit of trouble here. There's Schneider counters all over the place, and they've got last shot. But we don't want to take away from the quality of our featured game. The German team playing the Italian team. Germany with last shot in this fourth end. Germany playing Redstones. From my angle, I think that's one yellow at the moment. I think that yellow in front just outcounts that red at the back. So this end again looks nicely set up for Italy. It's really working for them, just setting up the counters on the centre line and then asking the questions of Germany. So I'm sure Team Schwaller is also feeling like they've got a target on their back. So in a really tight group, they just missed out on qualifying for this quarter-final. So they're also finding out that once you get to the top, they had a meteoric last couple of seasons. Silver medalists at the Europeans in their first outing at that event. So really strong stuff for the past year or two, and I think they're also feeling what it's like to have that target on their back. But here's a really nice shot from Germany. Oh, and that red just spun itself slightly back towards the centre, so Germany lying 1 and 2. Pretty nice result there. They wanted to move that yellow off the centre, which they have. They haven't moved it out of play, but here's another look at it. They couldn't throw too much weight again because they couldn't see very much of that yellow. They had to get that, wait for that red stone to curl.
Alternative?
But that's a pretty nice result, but it's still quite open for Italy to throw a spanner into the works here.
Devi prendere abbastanza fine.
Ach so, mäßig hat er
Un
gesagt.
quarto meno. Non più di un quarto.
Se anche fai saltare sul freeze.
E anche è difficile.
Guarda, ma sono frisate gialle e rosse, no?
No?
Außen angucken, oder?
Se anche giochi quello e gemma secco, che problema è?
Italy just having a think about things. The rest of the team coming up for a bit of a committee meeting. So that red in the 8-foot circle just ahead of tee line, that's a bit of a danger stone because it's still ahead of tee and it's also quite safe. It's got that yellow behind it, so it's a wee bit harder to get rid of that red. There may not be too much advantage to removing the red at the back of the 4-foot because then your own shooter would still be behind tee and you've still got that red danger shot there in front of tee.
Ich frag mal wieder nach. Er spielt doch den hinten ab.
So I think they may though just be going to remove that red in the 4-foot. That is the shot, that's the one that's closest. And if they can get a roll behind cover, then again that puts pressure on Germany, even though you would be probably behind tee.
11 e mezzo!
Wow.
So control takeout here from
11 e mezzo.
Amos Mazzana.
11 e mezzo. Oh. 11. Forte, 11. Linea. Oh.
So it's not curling towards the centre, he's not going to get the roll that way. So that removes the German counter. He doesn't really get a helpful roll, but
12 avevamo capito però, la chiamata era 12.
removes one of the German shots at least.
Nur vor den 4 Meister sein!
10,60.
That does though mean that
Nicht
Germany,
tiefer, sonst hat er den.
if they want,
Sag mal,
could
können
get
wir
a
eigentlich
second
die
counter in
Corner Guard
behind
vielleicht
that
einbinden?
centre guard now.
Ja, hab ich mir auch
They're
schon
already like
überlegt,
one and that
aber
red looks pretty nicely
Wenn du da
snuggled
hinlegst,
in
was
next
macht
to
wer
that
dann?
yellow.
wenn du hier drauf fliegst.
It's quite difficult to remove that red
Gar nicht so tief,
completely from
dass
the
falls wir
rings.
über den eigenen gehen, dass wir nur sein wegnehmen. Wenn er mit dem Draw ein bisschen tief ist, können wir dann über den eigenen den Double spielen.
Ja.
Einfach so vorne 4 Länge hinter die Corner, dass wir noch einen Third
Ja.
Shot haben.
They're also having a bit of a team meeting
Der hat nicht
about
unbedingt besser
what to
als
do
der
next.
Ja, okay. Weiße 8, oder?
Dann. Ja.
Okay.
That's not a
Den Freeze findest du nicht
silly
gut.
suggestion from Mark Muskatewitz that, yeah, to put another one in on that wing. That's
Nee,
not
das
a
nicht,
bad
aber
idea.
Falls er dann auf T-Line kommt, haben wir halt immer
And we
unseren
might look at
eigenen
that
da
and say,
hinten
but that
rumsuchen.
doesn't make sense. That won't be
Ich würde sagen, fahren wir mal
outcounting
vorne 4 rein.
that yellow in the 8-foot right next to
Weiße
the
8 Fuß.
the red in the 8-foot. That's correct, but Germany is quite happy to leave that red protected by the yellow behind it and hopefully do something with that set up later in the end. So they're trying to set up maybe a second point here
Die Seite ist ein bisschen langsam, Jungs.
Linie!
and draw to the other side of the house.
Linie
Halt,
gut.
Jungs. Bleibt drauf, die Seite ist neu.
Domi!
Linie gut.
Linie gut, Domi ein bisschen.
It sounds like everyone's quite happy with it.
Yep, cool.
And again, he's got
Hin
that
drauf,
backing.
hin drauf,
He's
Tommy.
got that Italian
Yep.
counter if
Gerade,
the length's a
gerade.
bit
Go, 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 go.
on the heavy side, but I don't think he even needs the backing.
Okay.
Really nice shot there, so you can see 2 reds in front of 2 yellows. So it's tricky for Italy to remove either of those reds cleanly. They risk just squirting it straight back into the yellow and the red going nowhere, so Joel will be well aware of that. This is a really experienced lineup, this Italian team. So if you're Italy, what do you do? Germany has last shot, and at the moment they lie 1 point, but Italy are pretty mindful that
Vorne so viel vorbei oder so.
Rimani con 2 rossi in casa e una sola nostra gialla
Sixten
che tiene.
Totzig
Sehr gut.
to just push
Ok,
that red
controllare il shooter,
at the
dici.
top of
Ja,
our
ist ja nicht
screen.
so gefährlich, dass wir mal jetzt einen Tick
That
tief
will
sind.
quite easily remove that back yellow and leave 2 reds in front of it. So that red that they're just touching with a brush,
Ma lui c'ha il peel out esterno.
it's very well protected just now with that yellow behind it, and that's what Italy are going to be thinking
So
of.
von der Linie her auch.
It won't take much to remove that yellow behind it, and then Italy will not be lying second shot after all. So that's what they're discussing.
A me non
is how to start cancelling out these raids. It's a wee bit difficult to just remove them. So they're discussing what can we do to cancel out these raids, since I don't think there's a double there, and even just a single takeout of either of the raids is quite tough.
E se lo giochiamo in in invece il punto invece che l'out, scusami.
Per non lasciargli un... Schau, wenn er jetzt eben vorne 4 Teams
magari
kommt,
gioca solamente il roll qua, si
dann
avvicina
können wir eben nicht den Double spielen, wenn wir uns wieder rot
Ho capito, però poi ci possiamo giocare noi.
So they're still having a think about it. That if they could really sink one in behind that centre guard that's still there after lead stones, just exactly where their brush is pointing, that would be a really nice spot, but that's a risky shot. If they were at all off with that shot, then Germany would have a relatively straightforward shot to be sitting 3, and then Italy would only have 1 shot left. So I'm not quite sure what the call is. That may be what they're doing. Again, Joe's a really good pressure player. He's faced this kind of situation many times, so he won't be intimidated. So it sounds like maybe they are looking to direct draw just in front of T-line, or just in front of the 4-foot circle behind that nice centre guard that Italy have had there for the whole end. So it's not an easy shot, no. But Joel's played a lot of these shots in his career.
Linea buona!
So the sweeper's on it
Linea
right
buona!
away, but
Linea buona così! Linea buona!
that often happens. They just like to get the feel for it immediately, but yeah, they're helping it in now. But yeah, that's going to come up short, unfortunately. So that was the mistake that Germany were hoping for. That's unusual. Joel's normally pretty strong with that kind of aggressive shot, so he'll be a bit disappointed. He's got one more chance, and he does still have those guards out front, which I don't see Germany removing. So he's had his practice shot, and he'll get another crack at it with his final shot, but he'll be disappointed that he didn't put more pressure on Germany from there. So now Germany has a choice. They could play that shot they're indicating, so that would be exactly what we were just talking about, that if you hit that red, then the back yellow squirts out, that red stays where the yellow was, and your shooter, if you get it perfectly, could roll in behind those 2 centre guards, and if they can get that, that would be a really nice shot. That's another option, is where they put the brush on the other side of the sheet, so to put another counter in the front 8-foot, yep, just there where his brush is tapping. That's a nice shot as well, because then Italy has to go for one of those raids, and they have to make a pretty nice hit and roll. And that makes Italy's life also quite difficult to avoid losing at least 2. So I would say, yeah, that's their 2 options. Either make a play on that red next to the yellow, squirt the yellow out the back, and then get good separation of the remaining 2 reds, or direct draw to the front 8-foot circle on the counterclockwise handle. Both good ideas. Just depends a bit how you feel about it.
Ich würde ihn nicht berühren.
Der wird schreiben.
Eben.
Den kriegt er nicht weg.
Vorne 8,
Sometimes a player has more confidence in their hits rather than their draws, or vice versa.
Vor den. Soll er doch, dann drawst einen für 2. Oder tappst den für 2. Okay. War das Eis von vorhin, oder? Wenn ich mir kann ja durch Wischen rausziehen, oder? Der Dommi hält den eh.
Oh, gib einen Tick mehr.
So it's true, this Retornaz team, as we said, is very experienced, this lineup. They've played together a long time, and they got bronze at the 2018 Europeans, as Michaela says, over Germany that time. So other rotations of the Italian team, Joe's certainly been around forever, which he's the same age as me, so hopefully that doesn't make us too old. But yeah, Joe's certainly very experienced. He's played at Olympics as well, and had good results then. But indeed, this rotation of the team, They really came to prominence in the
Finish
Europeans in
schnell.
2018, winning a
Jungs,
super
oh.
bronze medal over Germany.
Oh.
So
Ach,
this German
Linie.
team, they've set themselves up pretty well this weekend, I think.
Oh.
So maybe this is going to be their season.
So komm, sit. Nein, einfach lassen. Einfach lassen.
So this is a bit longer than they wanted it. They wanted that in front of the tee and really in the 8-foot circle, because now,
Das war der.
as Simone
Ja.
indicates,
Schnell hier.
if Italy play the exact same shot, then they will be
Der Sechser
short. They'll
stört halt
have
jetzt ein
that red
bisschen.
right behind.
Aber für 3 hast
Germany
du immer
will
den Aufruf
have a
am
bit of
eigenen.
trouble to score more than one. So this is Italy's last shot. So
Prima ero lento di split.
Joe's first shot was a little bit short.
Sechser vorne, 8.
He'll be mindful of that. Sometimes at the club level one can over-adjust in that situation and then you send a shot
10.
scooting through the whole house, but these guys are professionals. You can't see that happening.
Spur läuft gut, weil es
Ja,
auch
doch,
wenig
sehr gut.
kalt.
But I don't want to curse the Italian team, certainly. So,
Ja, so ein Stück.
Oh, aspetta, aspetta.
Gut, wenn du schaust,
Aspetta.
ist es
so this is a nice stone.
No,
Wow.
Occhio.
no, linea mai.
Ah, ist vorbei.
So I think the call was to wait for the line. That's got a distance to curl.
Ist vorbei.
Brama per passare.
And
Sì,
you
giù,
did
giù,
quite
giù,
like
Rama,
to maybe get
Giù,
out of
Rama.
the edge of that
Hard, Mucki.
mid guard.
Hard, Mucki, hard.
So weight was not bad, but it sounded like he was maybe a little bit wide of the brush. The call was
Hier
to
haben wir eigentlich nichts.
wait
Der
with the
wird
sweeping
Ja,
immediately
der
out of hand. So typically that would mean that the shots
Ja, aber mach noch für
going
3.
outside of the
Ja, das stimmt.
ideal line. But it's not a bad
Ich
result.
würde nur mit 0 spielen.
Ja, mach
Germany
hier
lies
einfach-
one
einfach
still,
nur-
that red that he's just touched with his brush, but
Ja.
Italy does
Kann man
lie
irgendwo ins
2
Pocket
and
rein?
3.
am besten natürlich so.
So if
Ja,
Germany want to
kann ich
score
mit 4.
more than
Wie schnell
2
magst du?
points here,
0.
they would need to do something about
Wobei,
both of
reicht
those
da von der
Italian stones, which is a
Geschwindigkeit
very difficult
Auf jeden
shot.
Fall. Wir haben die nur
So-
ganz dünn.
Germany might be wise to simply
Ja, ein Drittel. Ein Drittel ist
Ja.
gut.
do
Wir
a
müssen ja hier
dead
treffen.
draw to the tee
Ja, ja.
line, follow that same line that
Magst du von außen? Ja.
Italy and they just played,
Gut, mit 0.
and make sure they get 2, but
Wie wird's curlen? Ein bisschen, gell?
Schon.
Aber eine Steinbreite
happy
passt
to
ja.
go for the
Machen wir so.
big shot. So I think
Sì, ma
they're trying to, yeah, they're playing on that red, and you can see that Mark Muskatewitz is looking at the angle. He needs to then get across the house
Mit 0.
to make that double takeout. So this is effectively a raised double takeout because we're starting with that red next to Mark Muskatewitz's brush. So this will be a fine shot to witness if it comes off. Deep breath, Sixten.
Yep! Yep!
Oh!
Yep! 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 Halt! Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
Go, 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 go.
He does miss it. So we can hear some clapping in the background for a super shot. That's exactly what they said they were going to do. So great shot from Sixten Todzic there, picking up a big 3. They're having a look to see if it might even be 4. From my angle, it looked like it was
6 noch, meinst du?
Ja, messen.
the Yellowstone.
Schau's dir
Looks
an.
like it's closer there, but they may call for a
Ist
measure
deutlich
to make
oder?
sure. So it's definitely 3 reds. And then this would
Ah,
be red number 4. Yeah, I think the Germans are conceding that the yellow's the closer one. But they may call for a measure just to make sure.
Ist deutlich mehr.
Looks like everyone's happy
Schöner Stein, 6.
that there's
Oh, ein
a
Tick
score of
voller.
3 there.
Tick
Ja, noch
voller.
ein Tick.
Dann
So
rutscht der
Germany
Gelbe
will be
nämlich
pretty happy with
steiler
that.
hinten runter. Kommen wir mehr von oben ran.
So at the halfway stage then, that's us played 4 ends in this quarter-final game.
Oi.
And at the halfway stage, after that big score of 3, it's 4-2.
Genau.
Germany is
Dann
leading
fängst du
Italy in this game. There's another look at that one. That's exactly what they said they were going to do. So, well-made shot from Sixten
Ma non ne
Todzic.
puoi guardare. No, questa qua ne prendi 3 la quarta, che è da coglioni. Fine.
So, not panic stations yet for Italy. They're 2 points behind, and that's very makeable. This is a very experienced team. They won't be too worried. everyone has to take a breath, settle down after the excitement of that last stone,
Schnelle Spur!
Sieht gut aus.
Vorne 8, vorne 4. Yoshi, braucht ein
and
bisschen.
get back to the more gentle
Auf ein
weights,
bisschen, Jungs.
the more delicate weights of setting up the end.
Ist genau da.
So again, we've seen this before. Germany is plus 2 points.
Sehr schön.
They don't need shots out front.
Alles
They
ein
don't
halber
need
Meter
to try to
Flanken und
generate offense in this end.
Schön,
So they
Domi.
put a shot straight into the centre. And perfect shot there from Dominic Greindl.
Linea buona.
Italy does need to start generating offense. So they've called for a corner guard. So they're staying away from this. I think the sweepers reckon it's there all by itself.
Würde ich schon mal sagen.
Oh, that's even drifted into the house, so that's a rare mistake from Italian lead Simona Gonin. And the reason that's a mistake, even though the point of the game is to get stones in the house and nearer the middle, is because that stone is not protected by the free guard zone. So as you can see, 6-10 going immediately for the takeout.
Clean.
Whereas if that stone had dropped a couple metres shorter where they wanted it, then it would not be allowed to be removed from play until
Super, Domi.
they played 5 shots. So an unusual mistake there from the Italian team, but they're going to persist with putting stones in play,
Fallen nur fast zu.
keep trying to give themselves opportunities to build. So they would love to be able to get that 2-point deficit back in this end, or even more.
Linea buona.
This looks a bit of a happier result.
Giù, giù, giù.
Yep, that's very nice there. So that stone is now in the free guard zone. So Germany cannot put that stone out of play. They can move it around,
Drei.
but they can't put it out of play. And that's a new rule since last
Muss eine
season.
kurze 3 werden.
So you can see 4 stones have been played. There you can count them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the old free guard zone rule, Germany would be allowed to take that stone out of play, but because now we're playing 5 rock free guard zone, that Italian stone is still protected. So
Linie
this
gut.
is now stone number
Platz.
5,
Wo ist er?
Vorne 8.
and then the guard stones can be removed.
Hat Platz. Hat Platz.
But
Köln ein bisschen stark.
we can really see the value or the difference that 5 rock free guard zone makes. So
Hast du einen Sumpf?
it was a safe shot
Sumpfen lassen.
or a secure shot for Italy to place that yellow guard where they did, knowing that Germany cannot remove it in this
Die beste
new
Guardlücke
5
raus,
rock free guard zone
Okay.
environment.
Zeit.
But
90.
nice reply from Germany. They're not intimidated by the 5th rock.
11. 10.
Italy do have last shot in this end. But at the moment, Germany are piling some shots in, so before Italy scores anything, they have to do something about these German stones, and that's exactly what they're proposing.
Undici.
Oh. Oh, oh. Oh, uomo.
So it sounds like they're calling that as a 12. I'm not sure if that means a 12 in
Giù, uomo.
split time between the hog lines or if that means 12 in terms of zones, but that's a nice result. So now they've got that yellow in front of the red, so that yellow is more difficult to remove with the red behind it.
Straight. So drüber. Den nicht mal unbedingt berühren.
The score
der
here
kommt nur
after
so.
4 ends is
Also nur Piel.
4-2 in the game of the German team versus Italian. And Italy has last stone, and in the other quarter-final, they've also finished 4 ends, and Schneider picked up a 2 in that 4th end.
Go, go, go.
Well, actually, they finished 5 ends, so Schneider picked up a 2 in the 4th end, and de Cruz a 1 in the 5th end, so really tight affair over there. That's 3 each after 5 ends.
Ja, schräg hinlegt,
Wo ist
passt
das
ja. Ah? Ja, schräg hinlegt, Digga, dann passt ja.
L'alternativa è bocciargi adesso. Si fa il freeze.
again, a couple of options here for Italy. So they're sitting shot,
Okay.
and it's
Lì no.
relatively straightforward for them to remove that red and hang around themselves. That's a really old school way of generating 2 points, is just keep lying 2 in the house after you've played. So you could do it that way.
Due meno, due.
Again, at club level, from this position, if I was Italy, I would be pretty confident of getting a 2 from here. You just keep exchanging hit and rolls, hit and stays. 2 points, please, but not so straightforward at this level, because all of these teams are very capable of making some pretty extravagant double takeouts, so no stone is safe at this level. That came up a bit shorter though than Italy wanted. So Germany are certainly going to remove that counter near the middle. Try to capitalise on that mistake from Italy.
Oh, Tommy! Yep. Yep. Hard. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Dobbiamo andare dietro, però basta.
So he's certainly got to the yellow, but I don't think he's rolling behind cover.
Perfekt, okay.
Dobbiamo andare dietro, allora, se vedo che guardi.
That previous shot for Italy didn't quite go how they wanted, but better, a bit shorter than too long in that case. So that was definitely the tolerance for that shot. So they do now have that guard out front, which third player Amos Mazzano is going to draw behind. Again, you might wonder, why does Italy not just remove that red right in the middle? That seems pretty easy. And yes, it is. For this Italian team, that would be an easy shot. But it's more important that they attack the wings here, the corner, or the, well, behind the corner guards. That's another half shot really from Italy. That's 2 shots that have come up short. Maybe the ice is getting a little bit flat out there, a bit worn out. I think it's not only the players that need some stamina, the ice needs a lot of stamina as well. So the ice has had quite a lot of pressure on it for the past 2 days. These teams can really sweep hard as well, and that really takes its toll on the ice. That's a big difference between club curling and this level as well, as the effect of the sweeping. So not only on the stone, but we can really see that these teams can really affect the line and length of the stone, but also on the ice itself. So you have these big strong players sweeping a stone hand to hand, and that takes its toll on the ice as well. So this one's also coming up short, so yeah, maybe the ice is getting a little bit flatter. It does give Italy quite a headache though. Germany are lying 2 behind guards, and Italy does have last stone, so they're sticking to the aggressive call. The other option would be to start clearing out some guards, give themselves some space to get into the house, but they're 2 behind, so they're sticking to the aggressive call. Good for them. So we're looking at the split time here to see what kind of speed the ice is running at. So that's a split of 15. That means it took the stone 15 seconds to go from the near hog line to the far hog line, and these Italian sweepers are very strong. So looks like a split time of maybe 14.5 or so. You would want your stone going a little bit faster to get to T-line, but that's not a bad result. They can certainly use that stone. And it's, yeah, we can see it's nicely behind cover, so that's not a bad result. 16 Totzek asking how much of that red can you see from the other end, so how much danger is that red shot in that Italy could come around on the counterclockwise handle and remove that red from play. I definitely think they could. I think from our angle it looks like you can see maybe half. And again, at this level, it's not an easy shot, but they would definitely go for it.
Weil wenn, und selbst dann habe ich noch den perfekten Roll.
Und was,
Hinter die ganze
und was
Masse.
spricht gegen den hier?
Ich finde es risky.
Warum? Weil dass wir hängen bleiben.
Ja, irgendwie was aufmachen. Es liegt
So
grad
Germany
so
without
auf
last shot
er hat nur
in
den
this end,
Aber schau mal da.
asking
Ich würde ihn was
themselves,
machen lassen.
how do we make Italy's life
Was ist, wenn er ihn trappt? Was machen wir dann?
very difficult to score?
Vor den da.
Ja, ja.
Okay.
They wouldn't mind if Italy score a single point, but they don't want to give them a chance to score any more than that. So they may be just throwing up a guard to go with the Great Wall of China approach out front and just force Italy to make some angled raises. Looks certainly like they're going for a gentle weight shot, so they may be just following that shot just played,
1, 2.
Nee, wir spielen jetzt einfach die Garten.
just to block that path,
Weil so
and
hoch
meaning that
fällt
Italy
er
can't then do very much with that
auf den Roll rein.
yellow
Der ist
shot in
sehr
the
stark.
8-foot circle.
Schade. 20.
So they may have said to themselves that the easier shot for Italy would be to play on that yellow that they just threw. So they want to force Italy to have to play the more difficult shot to try to chip out the red stone, even though they can only see half of it.
Bisschen Linie. Yoshi,
Bisschen
nimm ein bisschen.
anwischen.
Yoshi.
Anwischen.
Yoshi. Linie gut. Nur sauber.
Anwischen. Köln
Nur
stark.
sauber. Nur sauber. Sauber. Linie gut. Tommy. Hierher. Finish.
Yep. Hard.
Yep, yep,
Go,
yep,
go, go,
yep,
go,
yep,
go.
yep, yep, yep.
Go.
Yeah, looks like that's pretty much what they were trying to do. So that now blocks off being able to play on that yellow stone from Italy. So now they're looking at the best way to move that red stone in the 4-foot. You could come on the counterclockwise handle with a direct stone and just try to chip it out if you catch as much of it as you can see, or the other option is to drive the red guard back, straight back, and try and go for the double. But I think I would go for this as well. I think this is maybe a little bit easier. So enough weight to remove that red from the 4-foot. It doesn't even need to be out of play, but as long as he pushes it to the back line, moves it off the 4-foot, then Italy will hope to be lying 1 with a bit of room to maybe generate 2. So a delicate shot coming up. He needs enough weight to push that stone
Füße sind immer so kalt, obwohl die schon rollen.
and not curl into the guard, but too much weight and it won't curl enough. Yeah, I think they can't even see half of it, so tough shot coming up.
Oh, oh. Tip.
War ein bisschen weiter, weil man sonst
Whoa.
So
Whoa.
yes, no
Tip.
sweeping
Tip.
is often a good sign.
Hey. Tira. Tira, tira, tira. Whoa, whoa.
And he's round that guard. Great shot, Joel.
hard, Mookie, hard.
I think that's about the best he could have done. You see, it was enough weight to push the red out.
Yeah.
But not too much because it had to curl around that guard to catch enough of the stone. So great shot there from Joel.
11-12.
It does leave space for Germany as well. They can also, yep, just where Muskatewitz, I keep having troubles with his name, is indicating with his brush they want to do a direct draw to T-line, just replace that stone, even more buried behind that guard. But that was definitely the right shot from Italy if they want to score points at all in this end. That German shot was causing them trouble, that had to go.
Tanto se faccio il randable
So we've got 3 nations represented in our quarterfinals. We're watching the game between the German team and the Italian team, and then next door we have 2 teams from Switzerland. We are missing several teams from Norway and from Scotland, so there were teams that intended to come, they wanted to come and play in this competition, but because of health restrictions they were finally not able to travel, so we're missing our curling friends from Norway and Scotland, some big teams that we were hoping would be able to play, but finally we have to be respectful of government restrictions, so shout out to our teams from Norway and Scotland that weren't able to travel. And that's not because their government forbids them from coming to Switzerland, it's actually because their government would forbid them from coming home again. So from their perspective, Switzerland is more of a risk for COVID-19 than either Norway or Scotland. So all of those teams would have to quarantine themselves when they went home again. So the problem's not coming here, the problem is they would have difficulties when they want to go home. So finally, safety first, it just didn't make sense for those teams to travel, so we're certainly missing those players and hope we can see them next year. Hopefully things will be more back to normal. Greetings from everyone at the Baden Masters, from the organising committee.
Forte! Forte! Ancora, non fermarsi! Ancora, che
So
passiamo
Germany
forte!
really asking the question of Italy, but I think they've got the answer. Wowzers, again, I don't think he could have done much better with that, honestly. That was a lot of work to generate 1 point. But he had to get that shot just right, or they would have lost that point. So again, that's quite a big difference. Now the score is 4-3. And if that shot had missed, it would have been 5-2. So quite a big difference there. Another really good clutch shot from Retornaz from Italy. So I feel like this game could really go either way. There's a lot of good shots coming from both sides. You can see in the score that pretty tight affair. Going into the 6th end now. Once we put that single point up on the board, we can see it confirms there in our graphic. So the score is 4-3 to the German team, and they now have hammer again. But Italy stole a point already in this game. They've been setting up the ends really nicely. So they should be confident of being able to put pressure on Germany to generate score in this end. And then, yeah, next door, as we said, another really tight affair, as we would expect at this stage in the competition. It's 3 each between Schneider and de Cruz, both from Switzerland. They're a little bit ahead of this game. They're almost finished the 6th end. So we'll keep you up to date with what's going on in their game as well. So the teams that win here will have 2 winners this evening, and those 2 will progress to the semi-final, which is tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And there are already 2 teams in the semi-finals. The winners of the group, that's Team Van Dorp and Team Edin. They won their respective groups, so they're already qualified for semi-finals. So that's who awaits the winners of these games.
Shot, Tommy! Gut platziert. Du weißt ja, wo das Spielfeld aufhört.
So I think Germany didn't mean to. Yeah, that was the call was to draw to the wings there, but it's overrun a little bit, so Italy won't be too concerned with it.
Aspetta se puoi.
Passt schon.
Tira giù allora.
Giù convinti, non entra mai questa qua. Go. Infatti, è buono.
Gut, dass wir nie berührt haben.
Convinti, giù Gozze.
Giù bene.
Giù, ancora un po'.
Giù forte.
This is a good throw and a good sweep.
Das ist super.
And that double guard is set up again nicely for Italy.
Okay.
Good job, Simona Gonin.
Vorne 8 langt. Ja, oder Tick kürzer.
Germany again deciding to try to get to the centre first. So Dominik Greindl overcooked his first shot a little bit.
Linie gut. Halbplatz. Yoshi.
Want to take a little bit of weight off this shot and get one to the centre of the rings ahead of Italy. Germany does have last shot in this end, but they're also +1 already.
Das ist gut.
This looks like a better effort from Dominik Greindl. Really nice weight,
Questa
but
14 e mezza, 14 va.
needed to curl a wee bit more so Italy can see it, and indeed they're going to
Velocità 8.
try and,
8-9.
or well, they can't see it directly, but there's plenty of space for them to chase it round. Another nice shot now of Sebastiano Arman, the Italian second.
7.
8,
Linea
So
buona.
gentle
28.
weight.
8, 7, 8.
7, 8.
Cina.
It sounds like the weight's good.
6, 7. È lenta.
Sì, allora.
It's starting to sit down a wee bit now. It's a nice sweep, good sweep.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Relativ voll.
I'd be reasonably happy with that.
Beide.
Both of those stones are really
Wenn
tucked
ich
in behind
singe,
that long guard. There is space because that guard's really long, and that means it's nearer to the hog line. There is space behind it, and actually it looks like Germany's had enough of that guard on the hog line, and they're going to take it off. They've got last shot. No need to make their life difficult by keeping the centre guard. So
Quasi che vorrebbe da tirarci subito dentro.
Nicht so schlecht.
No?
I think he's got rid of one of them, but yeah, he hasn't cleaned out the centre as much as they would have liked
Beh,
there.
possiamo già
So
giocare adesso.
Italy still has some
Achso, die
protection.
Lücke ist da, oder? Ah, okay.
Devi andare con un 11 però.
Now, the reason that
Almeno.
previous shot from Italy was nice, even though it tapped the red actually closer to the
Cosa
centre,
giocheresti
is
se no?
this is exactly the situation Italy was hoping for. So
No.
they're yellow
Piena,
in the
piena
front of the red.
piuttosto un
It's
filo
pretty
di
safe.
quarto
That's pretty
proprio.
difficult to remove because the red's in the way.
Siamo al
And
limite.
if Italy
Però
plays on
secondo
that
me 11
yellow,
è la velocità giusta.
then they would hope to squirt that red out the back and then have two
Piena,
yellows
sarebbe
lying.
l'ideale.
So that's why that was such a nice shot.
Sì.
It's not
Giocando lì,
immediately
giocando lì per te, vero?
useful, so to say. It doesn't immediately
Piuttosto questo lato qua.
get Italy points, but it sets them up very
Qua tengo
nicely.
bene la linea,
So
Sì,
Simona
perché
going and
l'intervallo
coming
interno
up for
ma è difficile?
No, a parte
con
giochiamo
fab.
out.
Ok.
they're
Quello
just
chiedevo.
discussing where they would want to
Quello
hit that
chiedevo.
yellow, where they can hit that yellow. It's not an easy port that the stone will be coming through. There you can see there's definitely space, but that will look like a smaller gap, I should think, from the other end.
Sì.
11!
Vai.
Andiamo. Tieni su.
Vai.
Tieni su.
Everybody's staring at that stone as he got it through the gap. Oh, not quite. Oh, that was a big sweep from the two guys there. It just touched the edge of that red, so
Ja, jetzt ist schon ein bisschen mehr offen.
that's a pity. That's a chance gone begging for Italy there.
Links schon Pep. Links schon
For Germany, there is space to squeeze that Italian stone out, but it's still a dangerous shot for them because that red's just about half a metre behind it. Here we are again.
Macht halt irgendwann
I thought they were just going to get it round, but there you can see it just touches half a centimetre and redirects.
Willst du den Peel?
So that's a pity. That's one chance not quite taken there for Italy, but you can see Germany's
So,
still having a headache with that yellow because it's
Drittel.
so easy for that to scoot back onto the red, but they're going to take a run at it. Actually, even if they made the double takeout, but as long as the shooter remains, they would be happy enough with that. That was a call right out of hand.
Clean.
Oh, no, they're saying clean, so sounds like it's fine, but I'm not sure that's what they wanted either.
Ah, wir liegen ja zweimal im Haus.
I know, it probably
Got
was,
me.
because Germany has last shot, so they're less interested in centre guards. So having not quite done what they wanted with their last shot, now Italy wants to replace the centre guards. This might look a bit counterintuitive as well. You say, well, hang on a minute, the red's the one in the middle. Why do you want to put a guard in front of that? Does that not make your life difficult?
Due più!
And again, short term, that's correct. That does seem like a strange idea to put a guard in front of
Mani così per
the
linea.
red shot as well, when it's the red one that's closer to the middle. But long term, So until the end of the end, Joel's really thinking the whole end through.
Aber Schools macht's für ihn schwieriger, dass es
So they need that shot in front to also protect the yellow, to stop Germany just making a takeout and removing everything from the house. So for Italy to score, they're going to have to make some really nice shots anyway. Italy doesn't have last stone, so they are going to have to play with guards and stones out front. So that's why they want to put the guard up, even though it looks maybe a little bit strange to put a guard in front when the red is the one closest. But you can see Germany agrees that that was a good shot from Italy, so they want to remove it.
Okay.
Ja? Was denn? So.
Michaela asks in the chat if it's true that the athletes all leave the rink after the game, so no having a drink together or having a chat, and yes, that's correct. So that's one of the restrictions that we have to make it safe for everyone to participate. So we're being very strict with the areas that everyone's allowed in here at the competition. So the players are, their area is the ice hall obviously, and the locker room and so on. And everyone else, we're all staying up in the restaurant area and the club area to try and keep the players as safe as possible, to really lower their risk of being exposed to any infections. So that's a bit of a shame as well. That's always a nice part of curling, is sitting together with your opposition after a game and having a drink. That's, you'll find that at this level and at club level. That's a really important part of curling. That really always happens. So yes, that's missing this time for the safety of the players. And everyone's wearing masks indoors as well.
Clean. Yep.
So we're really grateful to all of the teams who travelled and were willing to travel. And we're doing our best to keep everyone as safe as possible.
Oh, an den habe ich nicht gedacht. An den habe ich nicht gedacht.
Okay, so what they're doing now is Italy's going to remove that counter right next to Simon Gonen's brush. And why are they doing that? So if we remember, Germany has last shot here in this end. And there are 2 German stones in the rings at the moment. So again, Italy just wanting to keep that number down. They've only got 2 stones left, Italy. They may still be able to play on their own yellow that we can see that's been sitting there for a few stones now. But yeah, that was exactly the right shot. So now Germany only has 1 shot in play, so that's cut down the danger of those German counters. So at some point the priority for Italy changes a little bit from would be nice if they can steal the end to making sure that Germany is not able to build an end. So we've still got 2 ends left after this, so I think that was the right call there from Italy. Make sure that Germany doesn't have too many stones in play. And Germany still is facing the same challenge with that yellow shot, so there is space to get that yellow shot out of the house, but can they do it without taking the red stone with it? That's why they're having such a careful look at this. Looks like there's less than a metre between those 2 stones, so it wouldn't take much for the yellow to catch that red on its way out. So Mark Muskatewitz indicating the shot that they're looking for. They'll be coming down at that delicate controlled weight and trying to push that yellow out to the right of the house as we're looking at it, and then roll themselves over to the left. So that's the perfect result. He's been having a pretty nice game so far, 16 Totzik. So he'll be feeling confident for this shot.
Easy.
Nice steady delivery.
Whoa, whoa. Achtung, yep. Whoa. Whoa, weg.
Achtung!
Sauber. Sauber. Yep.
Yep!
Yep.
You can see them really
roll,
watching the
Zweitwege.
line to make sure it doesn't
Zweitwege.
overcurl.
Zweitwege, Zweitwege.
That's exactly what they said they were going to do. Great shot there from Sixten Totzek. They had to be really careful with that weight. You see, even at that controlled weight, it didn't get past the red by very much, so they had to be really careful. So really great shot, well made there. And now that gives Italy a bit of a headache, so they would love to try to make a double takeout, but you can see from the angles here overhead, that's a really tricky double. It's very flat. So only 2 ends left. We're getting towards the end of this game. So Italy don't want to fall too far behind. At the moment they're 1 point behind. And I don't see Italy scoring at this end certainly. So if they can give up only 1, I think that's probably the best they can do at this end now. If they give up 2, then they would be 3 points behind, and that's quite a lot of points to get back in 2 ends at this level. So he may just be going for the hit and roll.
Linea buona! Linea buona! Linea perfetta! Sì, allora, linea! Linea ragazzi, linea!
Oh, goodness me, it looks like he was really having good courage and going for a freeze. I'd love to see him make this shot. Great effort, Joel. That was a really courageous call. So what he was trying to do was get that yellow right up to touch the red, and then it would be really protected. So they obviously felt also that there was no double takeout there, and if they made the single takeout, then they would probably lose 2 points anyway. So that was a gutsy call to say let's go for the freeze. That's the most difficult shot in curling, famously, because it has to be exactly the right length. It cannot be a little bit too short or a little bit long. So it's a really hard shot, so that's always a gutsy call. Germany have just played this shot, so they'll feel pretty good about making it again, but there's still not much space between the yellow and the red.
Whoa.
So not easy.
Weg, Tommy! Achtung, den hinten!
Yoshi!
This one's
Yoshi,
to
hard!
call.
Hard, Yoshi!
Is he going to catch enough of it? Well, interesting. So he caught enough of that yellow to make 2, but not quite enough, or not as much as last time, to get rid of the yellow completely. So not quite the perfect result for Italy's last shot there, but it did save a little bit. They didn't end up losing 3. I think that could have been a bit of a game over if they'd lost 3. So Germany might be a little bit disappointed that they couldn't pick up 3 and really twist the knife there. That would have put a lot of pressure on the Italian team. So I think weight was pretty nice, looked like the same kind of weight. It just seemed to be a little bit wider, or maybe a slightly different line. Maybe it was a bit straighter. Yeah, but did enough to make 2 points. So that gives us a score after 6 ends of 6-3. So haven't quite put that score up yet, but Germany are leading 6 points to 3 as we go into the 7th end.
sehr schnell aus.
what's happening next door in the other quarterfinal between Schneider and de Cruz, both of Switzerland. They're also in their 7th end. And in the 6th end, de Cruz picked up a big steal of 2. So the score is 5-3 to de Cruz in the game against Schneider. And they're also in their 7th end.
Linea buona.
Italy running out of ends a little bit here. They need to make 3 points in 2 ends just to stay in the game. So they're going to have to go all out aggressive now. So that's a good start from Simone Agonin to put up a guard.
Ja, minimal.
Italy need stones in play. They need guards out front.
So that's cut. Okay. Okay.
It's certainly possible to make 3 points in 2 ends. Work really hard here to try to get 2 points and then
Linie.
work hard to steal 1 point in the
Linie
8th
ist gut.
end and to take it to an extra end.
Von 4.
So it's certainly
Wo ist er?
doable.
Von 8. Hat Platz. Curl, curl,
It's
curl.
certainly doable by this team.
Curl.
They've been in this situation a lot of times.
15.
By that I just mean they're a very experienced team. I don't mean they tend to be behind towards the later stages of the game.
Turn, dummy.
Gut.
Gut so.
But Germany is not going to make it easy for them. That's 2 really nice shots again from German lead player Dominik Greindl.
Ist auch gut. Nochmal 2 schön und dann
Italy will be wanting to make full use now of this 5-rock free guard zone.
Okay.
And this is why the 5-rock free guard zone was introduced. So
warte mal. Vielleicht brauchen wir immer nur einen.
3 points. It's quite a deficit at this level with only 2 ends left, but it's certainly doable. But the 5-rock free guard zone keeps stones in play a little bit longer. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 stones. And in the old rule, Germany could now start hitting, so they could start removing
Alle anderen sind halt
1 or sometimes both of those corner guards, and that's not allowed anymore.
Okay.
Hat halt immer
Eine
So
10.
this shouldn't be
3 vorne.
too confusing, because this is
Ruhig rein.
what will end up being a pretty classic situation in the 5-rock free guard zone.
Tap.
So you should kind of know
Ja.
what you're
Von 4 Länge.
you should be doing at this point. Shouldn't be too much of a decision-making opportunity.
Ja. 95.
But Italy will definitely be trying to get the 5-rock free guard zone to work to their advantage.
Hat Platz. Domi, Domi, Domi.
They've got
Domi,
this
Hinein.
1 extra stone where their guards are still safe in that free guard zone.
Hinein. Okay. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, lass ihn, lass ihn. Lass ihn. Wollte ihn noch ticken lassen, aber okay. Ja,
So I think that's looked okay for weight, but that's not quite on the centre line. As we saw yesterday as well, in this 5-rock free guard zone, this is rather typical. So you have your 2 corner guards out front, those 2 yellows, but you do have to take a deep breath and understand that you're going to be looking at 3 opposition counters roughly on the centre line. So you have to have good confidence that your team can make use of those corner guards, as well as being able to do something about the opposition counters in the centre.
Linea.
5.
Forte linea. Solo velocità.
So Italy not interested in removing these German counters. They want to use them as protection, and I think they've got this just perfect. Great shot, look at that. So that yellow looks very comfortable in there.
Hier.
I think that's near impossible to remove from
Guard nehmen.
the angle it's at just now.
Einfach der Run Nase.
Den.
Ja.
Nicht die Garden.
So that's exactly what Italy
So
wanted.
schlecht liegt's ja gar nicht.
That yellow's right in the middle, nice and
Ja,
protected.
kann nur noch so kommen. Und dann hast du den ganz kurzen. Da fliegt
Nimm
immer
doch mal
einer.
eine weg. Passt schon. Nimm eine Corner Guard weg.
Wieder.
That's why Italy did not decide to remove the German stones, is because it's more useful for them to sit in front of the German stones, and then they're protected. But Germany feeling less inclined to leave stones lying around. And that's the danger stones for them, are those corner guards. So that was the right call to remove those. So they've only got 2 ends left. Germany's +3. So even if Italy scores 1 here, Germany doesn't mind that too much. So Germany's correct to just remove those guards. That's the only shots that can do them damage. And while that's a lovely Italian shot right in the middle there, we can see that it's very well protected from removal. Italy still has work to do before they can pick up more than 1. And if Germany can force Italy to take only 1 point, they'll be quite happy with that. That would put them 2 points ahead with the hammer in the last end. So that would be a very satisfactory result for Germany. So it looks like Italy are trying a very similar idea. So now they want to snuggle into that red stone a little bit wider. I think he's done it again. Look at that. 2 yellow stones sitting right in front of 2 red stones. So pretty difficult for Germany to remove those yellow stones. So hats off to Sebastiano Arman, the Italian second player. That's 2 lovely shots that he's played. He's determined that this game isn't over. We can see that there's not much Germany can do about those 2 yellow stones at the moment. They're going to have to just start moving things around, I think, to try to generate a little bit of space. But you'll hear people talking about those 2 yellows being in jail, and what that means is it would take at least 2 stones to move them, not just 1. You first have to create space, and then you would have to try to remove the yellows. So that's what they're doing. Oh my goodness. Well, he just proved me wrong, so so great shot there from German third player, Mark Muskatewitz. Bravo, sir. So those yellows were not as safe as I'd assumed. You can see that coming in again. So right in the middle, and both the yellows go squirting out to the side. So I must admit, I didn't see that one coming, but clearly Germany did. Perfectly executed shot, but they do still have those 2 reds behind the tee, so Italy needs to not get their heads down after seeing such a nice shot played by Germany. They've definitely still got chances here. They've got opportunity, so that's exactly what they're going for. So now they're in that similar situation. They've got that yellow just at the tee line, and there's a couple of reds behind it which could easily catch or redirect a stone. If Italy can score 2 in this end, that would bring the score to 6-5, and they would definitely fancy their chance to steal 1 point. So Italy will be really working to try to score at least 2, but yeah, Germany's making it pretty hard for them. They're really on fire with their hitting game in this end. So another great shot from Mark Muskatewitz. I think he removed about 7 stones in 2 shots there. So bravo, sir. Again, Italy can't lose concentration. They can't let these big shots get to them. They've got to persist with their aggressive tactics. Try to keep stones in play. So now they're finally trying to use that corner guard that's been there all end, and it's still there thanks to that 5-shot free guard zone. So that gives Italy the chance to use it, which they have. Italy's not doing much wrong in this end, I have to say. They're really making their shots, and it's Germany that's really stepped it up to make sure that Italy is not getting the benefit from this good shot making. I think at least at this shot, yeah, you want to definitely remove that corner guard, make sure that's going. And again, you can approach this in a couple of ways. You can either just make sure you remove the guard and just peel the guard off and peel your shooter off as well, or you can try to go for the big raise takeout and get rid of both yellow stones. And the way Germany is hitting, I would not be surprised if they called the raise takeout. And then even in a plan B situation, you will surely have removed the guard. So, yep, looks like that's exactly what they're going for. They want to hit yellow into yellow, remove both of them. This is another screamer. Lots of whistling, not sure what that means. Perfectly made, really nice. So the German team's really got their eye in for those yellow stones at the moment. So it does remove both the yellows, but again, it leaves a guard out front. Doesn't matter to Italy if it's yellow or red, they will use that guard. That's exactly what Joel is signalling there. So they're going to come all the way around the outside on the counterclockwise handle, and they want to get a shot in behind that red out front. There was a bit of discussion in the previous game during the chat that I do explain quite a lot while we're watching. So we want to be an inclusive environment here, and inclusive for everyone. So everyone from lay people who maybe don't know a lot about curling, right up to our friends from the other countries who are probably tuning in. So I can tell you what that was applaud about just after we've seen the result of this stone. So they were sweeping that for line, but it was a little bit heavy for weight as well. So looks like it's certainly safely in behind the guard, but it's drifted on a wee bit. So that red in the front ring, that's still the shot actually. So again, Germany has a couple of options here. They could try to do something about that yellow. They could go that same line that Italy just played, but that yellow is nice and buried, so that's maybe a harder shot. Or they could just say bump that red. They could put a guard in front of that red because that's the shot anyway, or they could bump that red a little bit closer to the centre. Or they could indeed, just draw another shot to roughly where Muskatewitz is tapping his brush. Again, the discussion here is not about so much what we're going to do. So they want to lie 2 shots after playing this stone. The discussion is about where can they leave both of those stones so that there is no double takeout for Italy, so that Italy doesn't have the opportunity to score 2. So to just put a second stone in, that's pretty straightforward for teams at this level. And the discussion is about exactly where they want that stone to land, such that there is no double takeout for the Italian team. So it looks like the decision's been made. It looks like indeed they're going to draw to the other side of the house where Mark Muskatewitz has his brush there. Yep. But again, this has to be good. If this goes short or long, i.e. if it's not in the right place, if Germany is not lying 2 at the end of this, then it's a pretty straightforward takeout, hit and stick for Italy to score 2, which they would love. So there's still pressure in this shot here from Sixten Totzek. We've seen him make some quite complicated shots already this end, and technically this is a simpler shot, but as we keep saying, to get a stone on the tee line
In 4 ist gut.
when it's last shot, and
Schauen, Jungs.
there's
Komm,
high
schauen.
risk to it. That's never such an easy thing.
Linie gut. Schauen, Jungs, schauen. Schauen, 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 schauen. Okay.
Bisschen Yoshi.
The
Easy,
on-off
easy,
sweeping
easy.
again. Normally
Nur hierher.
Yep.
Oh, das ist gut so. Das ist
Suggest
gut.
that it's a good shot. it is. So that's exactly what they needed. It doesn't matter that that shot's a little bit behind tee. Important was that Germany was lying 2 points. So they don't want a double takeout for Italy. I think Italy's accepted. Indeed, there isn't a double takeout. So they're just going to make a straightforward hit and stick and score 1 point. While Italy's preparing that shot and cleaning up, I can tell you that we have a result next door. So Team de Cruz picked up another 2 in the 7th end, so making the score 7-3, and Team Schneider conceded the game after that 7th end. I think making 4 points in the 8th end to stay in the game, I think that was too big of an ask. So a win for de Cruz in the other quarter-final this evening. So a good comeback from de Cruz. They've had a bit of a up and down weekend. And maybe that was just a game too far for the up-and-coming Schneider rink, who've had a great weekend. I hope they're happy with their performance here. So that's one of the open semi-final places filled. So we know 3 of the 4 semi-finalists. So no trouble there for Italy. A nice simple hit and stay for 1 point. One end left here in this game. And instructions are clear. Italy must score 2 to stay in the game. And really, Germany's priority is prevent Italy scoring 2. So even if Italy score 1, Germany will still win the game, and they will be mindful of that. Germany has last shot, so Germany will be trying to keep things as simple as possible. They do not want stones in play. Italy will be trying to keep things as complicated as possible. And they do want stones in play. So it's a tough ask to steal 2 points, but it happened in the game next door for Peter de Cruz's team. It's certainly doable. This Italian team is really experienced. So they won't be intimidated. They will fight as hard as they can to generate 2 points here. And that's a nice start. It's important that these first 2 shots are in that free guard zone, so no mistake from Simona Gonin, the Italian lead and vice skip.
Hack, hack, hack. Dünn. Dünn 16. Yep.
And I think Germany is going for the tick shot, which we saw some lovely examples of yesterday. So he's trying to move that yellow off the centre line, but not out of play. So the 2 sweepers from Italy, they do want to move it out of play, which they have, because then, as we can see, they get to return it to the middle. So maybe it looks a little bit strange that Italy were sweeping their own stone out of play, but that's exactly why they were doing it, because now they get to put it back where it was before. So that yellow shot is protected by the free guard zone until we've thrown 5 stones. That was the right choice by Germany to try to move that yellow stone. They just want to push it to the side, but it's a really difficult shot to, as we can see, to push it with enough power to move it away, helpfully, but not enough power to push it out of play. So that's a very tough shot for lead players.
Aspetta. Aspetta ancora, va finita. Va finita. Adesso viene bene.
Simona Gonin has been playing these nice set-up shots all weekend. So no trouble for him. There we are, 2 great guard shots there. Still protected by this free guard zone, so I think Germany will try the same again, which is still the right call. They want to push one of those stones to the side, so it's off the centre line, but they can't push it out of play. So you see Italian third thrower, Amos Mazzano, he's waiting there at the line, because if it looks like it might be going out of play, he will sweep it as hard as he can to make sure it does. But a better effort there, and they're going to get a bonus counter on the wing, but Italy will be relieved that their 2 stones are still safe there in the free guard zone. So pretty good start for Italy to try to steal 2 points. But just to say it again, that tick shot it's called, to just try and split open the centre, that's a really difficult shot. So that's no disrespect to German leads Dominik Greindl, that Italy still have 2 shots on the more or less on the centre line there. So this is stone number 5. So after this shot, then it's open season. You can hit whatever you want. Lovely. Again, so just top of 4 foot from Sebastiano Arman. So Italy giving themselves every chance to get 2. That's 3 really nicely played first 3 shots. Yeah, Germany maybe looks a little bit intimidated, but they just have to keep from here, just keep hitting. They want, in a worst case, they want to give themselves as much space as possible to draw to the 4 foot with their last shot. It doesn't make any sense to get involved in this shots in play game, so yeah, just keep hitting Germany. So I think we'll have a couple of hits coming up from second thrower Joshua Sutter for the German team, so he gets rid of one of those guards. And Italy will still be playing towards the centre. Italy's task is a little bit more complicated just because they need to try to steal 2 points in this end rather than 1. So it looked like Joel was deciding whether they wanted to put that second shot on top of his first shot. So Sebastiano has lovely weight with his first shot. So Joel may have said, okay, let's just do that same thing again. And then we've got our 2 points in the rings and we just try to defend those 2 points for the rest of the game. So that's not a terrible idea. So you can see they've still got that one centre guard out front. And if Sebastiano has that nice weight, I think he certainly does have the right weight. Has just held out the line. So this is still the right shot from Germany. They don't want any guards out front.
Clean, 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 clean.
Even in a worst case, even if Italy are lying 1 or even 2 shots in the house, if there are no guards and Germany has last shot, they still have, I would say, something of the advantage here. They're plus 2 points, so they should be able to wind the game in from here, but Italy's not going to make it easy for them. They're going to need mistakes from Germany, so they need to put pressure on with good shots, which they've been doing so far. So they're just replacing that centre guard. That's pretty nice. I think the way those 2 stones are in the house, you can't cover everything, so they want to make sure they cover as much as possible. It's nice to see Amma in the chat as well, saying it's great to watch curling again. So we agree with you, Amma. It's a little bit of a different lineup than before. As I said, we're missing several of our traditional teams from Norway and from Scotland who have long supported this competition. Goodness me, look at that. That's a great shot from
Okay, so.
Mark Muskatewitz again.
Okay.
If anyone's keeping tally of how many stones that man has driven out of play in his past 4 shots, I think it must be getting on for about 15. So again, Italy can't allow that to get to them. They need to keep persisting with this aggressive game.
Nee, nicht ganz.
Linea buona.
They're running out of stones a little bit, but
Stai lì.
they will force Germany all the way to the finish line.
Linea buona. Sì. Linea buona. Linea buona, Rama. Linea perfetta. Buon 6. No, mai giù, mai.
So you can see Italy's got this lovely weight. They're making nice shot after nice shot. So they're lying too.
Ungefähr halb.
Was?
Ja,
They're giving themselves the best chance they can to pick up 2 points and take the game to an extra end. They need a mistake from Germany if they're going to be successful.
Yep, yep, yep! Hard! 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 Roll, roll! Roll, Dummy! Roll, Dummy! So weit ihr läuft, so weit
Great
ihr
shot
läuft!
again from Mark Muskatewitz. He should be very pleased with his evening's work.
Ah, wir beschlagen die Kontaktlinsen.
So I think that is potentially a game-winning shot. I don't want to curse the German team. There's still 4 stones to come, but that's certainly given Germany a big push towards the finish line in this game. So just removing that guard, removing that second counter. That's a class shot from big hitter Mark Muskatewitz.
Linea ok, linea buona.
Dann machen wir uns beide ins Haus legen.
Linea buona.
Dann hast du einen Open Hit.
Linea buona così.
Du überlegst, gell?
Linea buona così.
So again, Italy doing all they can.
Linea buona. Linea buona
It's
così.
unlikely Germany will make a mistake, but you never know. So again, they couldn't have played that much nicer. There it is, right in front of that counter.
Schön runterspielen die Linie.
So yep, this is the only sensible shot to play, is to remove that guard, and then whatever Italy does with their last shot, Germany will have a clear chance to win the game. So we can see in the chat there are some curling events here in Switzerland. It's not so restricted here. As I said, it's the problem for some travelling teams is more
Sauber!
getting home again after being in Switzerland, because the restrictions are not so strong here. So there's a couple of events coming up in Adelboden next month in September, and then the Baden Masters is still scheduled for October. Looks like it's a pretty diminished calendar on the other side of the Atlantic, at least at the moment. So another nice clearance from Germany there. So Joel will put this last Italian stone in the house. It's important that it gets there. It's important that Italy is lying too. But then they really have to hope that Sixten Totzek comes out and falls over or something, because I can't see him making a miss. So, yep. 8 nice stones from Italy. I don't think they could have played much nicer. But all Germany has to do is remove one of these. They don't even need to sit. So, this stone for the game. There we are. That's all he needed to do. No need to complicate it by going for doubles. So fist bumps all round, which are replacing handshakes this weekend, again for health reasons. So congratulations, Muskatewitz. I think over the whole game they probably just about had the edge on the Italian team this time. They've certainly had a strong weekend. So fist bumps from Joel. Always very sporty in the Italian team. So they gave that an excellent fight. I really enjoyed watching that game. Smiles all round from the German team. Good for them. So we now have our 4 semi-finalists for the games tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So our group winners, team, hang on, so yeah, we had Team Edin was the winner of one of the groups, and then Team Van Dorp from Netherlands was the winner from the other group, so they already booked places in the semi-finals by winning their group. And our 2 winners out here this evening, they will now join them. So the 2 winners were Peter de Cruz. Team had a 7-3 win over Team Schneider, both of those teams from Switzerland. And our featured game here was a fight to the last stone for Team Muskatewitz, or Team Totzek, as it seems to be the lineup this weekend. Had a really close 6-5 win over Team Retornaz from Italy. So great show by all our teams in the quarterfinals today. So our semi-final lineup for tomorrow will be Team Edin will be playing, I think, hang on, I need to work it out from my quarterfinal 2. So hang on a second. So I think we ended up with 3 teams from one group and 1 team. So it's only Van Dorp's team who are still standing from their group, I think. I can just confirm that for you. So indeed, we ended up with 3 qualifiers from Section A. So Team Edin from Sweden, they qualified first. Team Muskatewitz won their quarterfinal this evening. Team de Cruz won their quarterfinal this evening. And the only team left standing from Section B is the only team who are also undefeated this weekend, is Team Van Dorp from the Netherlands. So tomorrow we will have Team Edin will be playing Peter de Cruz. So that's a rematch of the game we watched this afternoon. So hopefully we'll be able to have Valentin Tanner back in the lineup, so we'll all be at full strength. So that's the game we'll be watching. And then on the other sheet is Team Van Dorp, who are the only team so far undefeated, and they will be playing Team Muskatewitz. So 2 exciting semi-finals to look forward to tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So hopefully you can all join us for that as well. So thank you everyone for joining this evening, and we'll hopefully see you back for the semi-final at 9 o'clock, to be followed by the final of this year's Baden Masters at 1:30 European time. So thanks for joining, and see you tomorrow.